How are teams still managing to do more, which they need to do because of the complexity, but in less time because of the constraints?
I think it's super important to just agree on the foundation that if we can deliver iterations faster, at a faster rate, at a faster speed, so if we can put out something there to test, to show customers.
How do we make them understand that doing this well will ensure business success more than just about anything?
The rate of change in our world is just increasing day by day. It's incredible. And right now the bi-weekly or fortnightly app updates seem to become like too slow. So I think there will be some changes in this area. How can you keep up? How can you update faster? How can you just climbing this rate of change further and further?
Hello and welcome to Tech Transformed, your go-to podcast source for emerging technologies and how they're shaping the future of business. I'm Dana Gardner, Principal Analyst at Inter Arbor Solutions with more than 25 years of experience in IT analysis and enterprise IT podcasting, and I'll be your host for this episode. We're examining the next phase of software development, a momentous shift in how teams build, test, and deliver applications through stronger processes, automation, and data-driven practices. I'm joined by Arpad Kun, Head of Engineering and Infrastructure at Bitrise, and author of the Bitrise Mobile Insights 2025 report. Arpad has led engineering teams at Facebook, IBM, and Ustream, bringing a wealth of experience both as an individual contributor and as a leader. He's helped teams unlock efficiency and sustainable innovation through strong continuous integration, continuous delivery foundations, and smart engineering best practices. Welcome, Arpad. It's great to have you with us.
Nice to meet you, and great to be here. Thank you.
According to your report, Bitrise Mobile Insights 2025, continuous integration pipelines are growing in complexity, but build times are decreasing. The demands to get them out fast are just rising. So how are teams still managing to do more, which they need to do because of the complexity, but in less time because of the constraints?
First of all, I think it's super important to just agree on the foundation that if we can deliver iterations faster, at a faster rate, at a faster speed, so if we can put out something there to test, to show customers, then we give ourselves the opportunity to move our business faster or build a better product. So it's quite important that the delivery speed of the software developments and the land impact, that's how I used to call it, is as fast as possible and as seamless as possible. So to your question, yes, what we saw in the study, in the data that we built with István Rechner, my colleague, he did the analysis, and he found that over the past, we basically looked at from 2022 all the way to 2025 H1, and the mean duration of the builds went down by 28%. The P90 is down by 30%, while the mean in the mean data, the amount of steps, meaning the complexity, this is the one way of how we measure complexity, went up by 23%, and in the P90 it went up by 32%. So again, speeds down by 30%, while the complexity increased by 32% in our P90 data. And this is, so how is it done? Multiple things. I think there are three major components why this is happening. One is just faster compute. The vertical scale, vertical speed of the servers or computers who are building, compiling, and testing the software just went up year over year. Then also caching. So a lot of customers introduced cache, build cache, not just the key value cache, not just the basic cache that you typically customers use at any software development where you need to compile, but also build cache where you can actually make specific targets for certain certain paths that you don't have to recompile and retest if it hasn't changed. And we see 90% of cache hit rates with customers who use that. So imagine that those are not needed to be recompiled. Therefore, it speeds up their their delivery a lot. And also parallelization. That's the last one. That's the third one. So we can split out as more and more the software that people are building are more and more complex. More tests are needed, and then they just split it out into parallel threads. So multiple tests can run at the same time. Parallel, cut down the iteration time.
Of course, people want more speed, but there might be some downside. What, if any, are the pitfalls of this increased speed?
Yeah, there's one thing that really surprised me, and we were scratching our head a little bit about this because we couldn't find immediately the causal relationship, but we see that the chance of a flaky test has increased by 28% or 28% from the top of my head, and that is huge. So what is a flaky test? A flaky test is if I build a software and my code is actually right, and it goes to test, it goes to the CI pipeline, and then I get an error. And the error is not because of my code was wrong, it is because the test was unstable, flaky, and it gave a false positive. It gave a false positive signal for me. So that is what is on the rise. Now, imagine if 24 or 28% of your time, of your engineers' times, are running or rerunning workflows or chasing ghost or non-existing problems. That's a huge waste of time and resources. So what we found is that teams who are looking into finding these flaky tests and using robust monitoring, and we have a software for this called Insight. If they are looking at it, they can actually reduce the amount of flaky tests that are running. And this is super important because they are not just saving time and therefore money on their CI system and work time and therefore for just dollars, but also they regain time to focus on what is important for the business.
Sure. Testing and simulation, it's always been difficult, but it's absolutely necessary. You don't want to have to do tests in the field. So what can teams do to mitigate the increased risk of flaky testing?
We are looking into what could be the causal connection. That's not entirely clear. So we are going to do some research on this. But in the meantime, what we see again, like the customers or people or teams who are looking into monitoring and identifying and then isolating the flaky tests or quarantining them, and then they go back and fix those, they can ship faster. I saw in the data around 10% or more, the build success ratio is about 10% higher, and that's a causal. We don't know if it is causal, but there's a correlation with customers who are using monitoring and looking for these tests and quarantining them fast and building them. There is about 10% higher build success rate, which is actually huge if you are building at scale.
Now, you've been both an individual contributor in development of processes and life cycles, as well as leadership of managing teams. And so across the experience in a number of different organizations and playing both roles, why is having a robust continuous integration, continuous deployment, and so forth so crucial? How do you maintain the speed, but continue that process of just getting the code out and getting it done?
I look at it from two angles. Yes, I have been for a very long time in my career been an IC, and now I just basically in my current role in management track, I basically am focusing on unlocking the ICs to get stuff done and unlocking them and get out of the way. So as an IC, it is incredibly important that I can stay in the flow. I don't have to get out. I don't have to wait 40 minutes for an iteration or 30 minutes. Did this work or will it break something? So at least for me, it was relatively hard for me to get into the flow. But then when I'm in it, I really don't want to get out. And I forgot about time. And it's just like this amazing feeling. That's awesome. I really like it. If we can keep that, if we can enable software engineers to keep them in the flow, beautiful things come out, great things come out, almost always. Now, on the flip side, if not, then frustration, fatigue, I don't even want to start. Why should I even bother about that? It will take me like 3 hours just to figure out what the problem was, and it might be not my... So that is super important as an IC. As a leader, I just want to unblock and make sure that the engineers who I support are in the flow state and not in something else. So I look at it from both angles. And as I said in the earlier, like if you have a fast train, I will use that this analogy. If you can ship things faster, that is good for the business and is good for the software engineers, data scientists, everyone, because they feel impactful, and that's usually how you keep talent.
And so having the right platform so that they don't get interrupted, having the, I's dotted and T's crossed, if you will, in the foundation allows for that flow. So what does this robust platform provide? And if you don't have it, why do the teams suffer? How do we solve this problem from a leadership position of being in the architect role of putting in place the right robust platform?
Yeah, so I look at this from two angles, two perspectives. Again, the IC and being in the flow is super important. So as long as I know how and when I can release my code, it gives me some sort of safety. Let's use a train example. As an IC, what do I get out of a robust CI/CD and for example, a release train, where every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks, I know that the train is departing, and then I can put my code on, and as long as it is tested and fine, and I can ship it. So that is an advantage if it is a very practiced cadence. So release is not like this having anxiety in the stomach and is with shaky hands. I push the release button and will it break or won't it break? So if you remove that, if it is like very normal, very cadence, then you have less errors, because if everything is manual, if you do a lot of things, there is just a higher chance of making mistakes. And if you do not do it often, same things, higher chance. So if it is like cadence and it's just very normal to release every 2 weeks, that's usually good for me as an IC and good for the business for various reasons we can maybe talk about later. From an IC perspective, it's great that if I know when I can release and it's not something anxiety inducing. But on the flip side, if I don't have it, then I will have to coordinate with many teams, which release, when we are going to be released, what is going to be exactly going to the release, is that going to affect, my code is not exactly ready, or I found a bug, can I still delay this? And then it's just most people who have released mobile software probably can relate to this. And yeah, it is important to have. What we found in the data, that on at least Bitrise, 54% of the apps built on Bitrise are releasing bi-weekly or faster. So every 2 weeks or faster. I recently learned that bi-weekly can mean 2 things. So fortnightly or faster, which is great, because we see them that they benefit from this, that they don't think about, they just push, the code is tested, nice, and then it is automated all the way to the App Store. So they don't have to think about it. With the release management software, they can actually just focus on making sure what goes into the release is supporting the business in the right way. And it's not about the release process. It's about the impact what the release will.
And more frequent iterations provides feedback very rapidly, keeps them in the flow. What is the data telling you from your report about why that increased release frequency is so important? What are some of the other benefits that come from that?
I think mostly it comes down from to having the cadence, focusing on what goes in, and if something is not ready, then no problem, you will catch the train 2 weeks from now. So it removes a lot of friction and a lot of anxiety around it. Again, so 54% are releasing more, and around 30% who are releasing a monthly or a little bit slower. Those are the long tail. So in our data, maybe it's worth mentioning, we support from very, very small, like individual developers who are coding in a coffee shop, all the way to the largest enterprises, insurance, finance, retail, etc. And obviously they have very different teams, one versus like an army of developers. And the data therefore is very wide. But having seeing that 54% of the apps, not the builds, the apps are releasing more than fortnightly at least, that is great to see. In terms of impact, we were looking into the feedback of the how many stars the apps have, and we also saw some correlation that the higher frequency releases have typically higher stars because of the iteration speed. We think it's no causal is not proven yet.
Yes, but it is an interesting point. And tell us a little bit more about the apps that we're discussing. Are these mostly mobile apps? Do they cross a variety of different platforms and types? I think it might just help people understand the frequency and the benefits of it by having a better appreciation of the actual type of applications most common in this research.
There are the native applications, mobile applications. So we are talking about mobile applications, mobile apps. And the native applications, we call it like this, built for Android and only for Android, or built for iOS and only for iOS. And then there is the third type, the cross-platform, when I, as a company or as a software engineer, I want to build my app once, but I want to make it available on both platforms, iOS and Android. And we see these cross-platform frameworks on the rise, especially React Native. React Native amounts around 30% now of all the builds, which is steadily increasing. This is also always a fight between like kind of a religious fight, I think. Some people feel like, no, we have to be native, or there are maybe some lower level APIs or something that only the native applications can achieve. But then there is always certain use cases where it makes more sense to have cross-platform, and then you just focus on a single app, a single flow, with a single team, and then you can push both. You can push to both App Store and Play Store.
Right. So in many businesses, the development process is sort of like a black box. They don't understand it. It's mystical. It's, they just want it to happen, and they don't understand a lot of the ins and outs. And so when we discuss as developers how the CI, CD, the pipeline, the flow, the rapid iterations are all important, we have to get the support of the business. We have to have them understand and appreciate, support what it takes to bring about these efficiencies and benefits. So how can teams demonstrate on the development side why the business benefits are strong? How do they explain the benefits to the business side of the house to get the support they need and make this more of a team sport rather than a sort of handoff or tag team type of a sport?
That's a very, very good one. I think it is sometimes, it depends on the company, first of all. There's a little bit of judgment here, maybe from a past what I've seen, but it comes from a good place. If the company doesn't understand or the company leadership doesn't understand the value of keeping the software engineers and especially if a lot of revenue or business impact comes through the mobile application or application, it's not just mobile, it's basically anything, but in scope of mobile is the same thing. If it comes from the app or how it works, and then the people who are working on that and their experience is incredibly important to keep up with the competition, because whoever invests in that will outpace the others who don't. This is at least what I have seen in very large employers of mine in the past, that they had incredible tooling, and the companies who don't have that, they are already starting from so way behind to keep up with that who have. So what we are trying to do here, it's like shameless pitch, but we are trying to do, this is why I joined this company, to give this tooling for developers to be able to compete with these very large organizations who have invested like 100 people or more just to have this tooling. If the justification fails because the leadership doesn't understand, then it's already, we can't really, we have tried to educate our customers, our software engineers to explain why is it important. And the way how I try to explain is like, there is this famous DORA metrics, probably everyone heard about it by now. It's basically the deployment frequency, the lead time, mean time to recovery, or fix basically something, and change failure rate. And but then how do you map that to business metrics? And what I found is I like to measure what is the impact of what we are landing, but it's sometimes really hard to correlate. But as long as the frequency of the releases is steady, it's very easy to understand that then we can release new features to the customer, or we can release bug fixes. So then the business impact is speed of delivery, new features, bug fixes, iteration. Great. The lead time, if we can release something out fast, then we can innovate faster. So the reduced opportunity of delayed innovation. There's an opportunity cost of waiting a month or two until your competitors put out something that do the thunder instead of your company doing the same. And then, of course, the MTTR is if you have a downtime, or if you have something, then you can recover from that. Now, in mobile, we can actually come back to this. In mobile, it's a little bit tough. If you have to release through the App Store, it's hard to roll back. It's not like web or backend, where you can just push a button and roll back, and in minutes you are up. There are solutions for that, but that's basically my message. This was my message to teams, how to justify that everything that we do is supporting the business. There are proxy metrics, but then explaining those proxy metrics the right way is super important.
Yeah. It's safe to say that software has never been more important to business. And over the years, businesses started to look at themselves as technology companies and not just businesses. And then technology companies started to look at themselves as software producers, not just technologies producers. And so really, business and software are intertwined and more than ever, and probably will continue to do so, to become more aligned that way. So a core competency in more businesses of constant iterative improvement in software development and releases seems to me like it should be paramount. But, we're still fighting that battle. What key insights and advice do you leave with our audience about how to make the core competency of rapid, sturdy, iterative development paramount in their thinking? How do we make them understand that doing this well will ensure business success more than just about anything?
I think we are entering an era that is our lives, our work, at least in my industry where I'm at, will look very different in a couple of years. And everyone is talking about this. There is a lot of hype, but there is also a lot of truth to it, I think, in my opinion. Of course, I'm talking about AI and the rise, how it reshapes things. And I think the way how I like to look at this, how can I adapt my business, my everything in the business to take advantage of it, of the rise of the AI and the AI assisted features? How can I do it safely? And what impact it will have once it starts scaling, and prepare for that. CI is continuous integration. If I have a carbon-based life form like this one here, or a silicon-based life form like this over there, or in the data center, okay, it's not a life form, but intelligence, that's what I meant. It doesn't matter what produces the iteration, the code. It has to be tested, and the systems that are designed to put X amount of traffic through or changes through needs to be able to take that increased volume. We already see, by the way, that the number of builds are going up. The iterations per hour or per day are going up steadily in the last 2 to 3 years. And we expect this to further accelerate with more code generation, more AI assisted development. And so that is one thing on the on just like being prepared for with my CI, with my ability to test and push it changes to production with the lowest friction possible. That's one thing. The other thing is, how do I create more experiments in this current way of releasing apps? Like, meaning every 2 weeks I release apps. Am I constrained to do only refresh my app every 2 weeks and then have new experiments in there? Or if there is a bug, or do I have to roll back and then you have to release? With the cross-platform and React Native, there is also the ability to do code push. Means that you can actually do a hotfix if something goes wrong, and you can go in and change, and then it is kind of after the next app restart, it can update and you can fix your applications. So I think, again, it is just me thinking. Maybe there's probably the reason is something else. But if code push, meaning I can update the app on the fly without throwing the app store as certain components, not the full app, and app stores don't necessarily like that if companies do it, but there's a certain limit that I think is accepted, then I can actually again release faster and fix if something goes wrong. So this is also another thing that I expect be on the rise, as the rate of change in our world is just increasing day by day. It's incredible. And right now, the bi-weekly or fortnightly app updates seem to become like too slow. So I think there will be some changes in this area. How can you keep up? How can you update faster? How can you just climbing this rate of change further and further?
Yeah, we can look forward to the day when the software development is at the speed of business, and we know how fast the speed of business is. So yes, some exciting times coming. Well, thank you, Arpad Kun, Head of Engineering and Infrastructure at Bitrise, for joining us on this episode. It's a compelling way to frame it. Throughout our conversation, we've been basically highlighting that this is not just about technical acceleration, but about operational maturity. So also thank everyone who's been listening. We hope you took a lot away from today's podcast. For those who want to explore these insights further, the Bitrise Mobile Insights 2025 report offers detailed data on workflow trends, build times, parallelization, cross-platform development, and more. You can access the full report at bitrise.io. If you enjoyed this episode, we'll be back next week with another discussion in our Tech Transform podcast series. Until then, make sure you subscribe to this podcast on all major platforms and follow the conversation on our social channels at EM360 Tech on X and LinkedIn. And for more daily great content, please head over to em360tech.com. Thanks again, and bye for now.